So here we are going through the book of Habakkuk. That's a great way of blending that, isn't it? The book of Habakkuk. And I want to start off with a question before we kind of really dig into this. That question is, what satisfies you? And I started thinking about this question myself. What satisfies me? And I'll tell you one of the things that really satisfies me. Pizza. Okay, pizza satisfies me. You can talk about Snickers all you want. Pizza satisfies me. And so I'm looking online, and I do research every day. I'm reading stuff, and I'm reading through stuff, and I'm looking through the news. I'm reading research, and I ran across this weird study. It's a legit study, but a weird study. I think it's totally bunk, and you're going to see why in just a moment. But nonetheless, it was published, and it had a lot of funding from various universities about how when you crave certain foods, your body really wants something else. And if you could get that something else, you'll be more satisfied than what you just got through eating. And here's what I'm going to just share with you some of the results, all right? Does that sound like fun? Just to get you a glimpse of what they said. So it's like a big versus. The food that you think you want versus the food that they think that your body really is wanting. And so what they said was, if you find yourself on a given afternoon craving pizza. If you find yourself craving pizza, really what your body is craving for is not pizza. What your body really wants is fatty acids. And what you can do is you can eat walnuts instead. That's what they said. They said if you eat walnuts, your body will be more satisfied than when it ate pizza. And here's how they did this study. Here's how they figured it out. They got like 100-some people together, all of them craving pizza, which is not that hard. Just go to your local pizza joint and say, come with me, I'll give you free food. And they'll probably come. But nevertheless, they got 100-some people together, all craving pizza, and they had them eat a little over half a pound of walnuts. And then the people, after eating a little over half a pound of walnuts, said, we're full, we're not hungry. If I ate half a pound of walnuts, I'm not going to be hungry either. In fact, I will show you my walnuts again as it comes back out. That is a lot of walnuts. But they said, see, that shows that you're not really wanting pizza. You're wanting fatty acids. And walnuts are heavy in fatty acids, and it satisfies that craving. You know what? Let me be honest with you. There are a lot of foods in the world that have fatty acids. Pizza happens to be one of them. But when I'm craving pizza and you give me a walnut, I'm not going to be interested. You want to know why? Because in the end, what I'm really wanting to know is that I'm holding something that is going to have a crust to it, that is layered with sauce and pepperoni, that has peppers on it, and has bacon and ham and cheese, and it has more pepperoni, and it has black olives and mushrooms, and that there's grease running down my arm, letting me know I got something delicious, so that when I bite into it, I can say, praise the Lord. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Give me walnuts, I'll put walnuts on my pizza. Okay, what I'm going to do with it. So it's really weird research. But they continued, and they said, if you find yourself craving fried food, like fried fish and shrimp, or fried chicken and chicken wings, and they said, if you're craving for this, what you really are wanting is healthy fat. So know what you can eat instead? Avocados. It's about this point my eye begins to get a twitch. And I'm like, avocado? Avocado is not made up of yummy little bits of fish and chicken parts that belong in my mouth. That is not what avocados have. That is just not avocados. And then it kept going. I know what's coming. It's one of the problems of being up here is I know what's coming. And it's funny. I can't believe they said this. They said, if you find yourself... Give me a moment here. I'm serious. This is really twisted. If you find yourself craving a hamburger, and you're just anybody hungry now, right? This is a horrible thing to talk about in the morning. Okay. If you find yourself craving a hamburger, and of course I'm thinking something like a juicy big old Angus beef patty, right? With some pickles on it and some ketchup and some lettuce. Okay, it's like if you find yourself craving a hamburger, what you're really wanting is magnesium. So, eat seaweed. I'm not making this up. Well, let me be fully honest with you again. let's say we're all out on the lake, right? And we're swimming. And we get this desire to have a hamburger. We're all like, you know what? We want ourselves a really good hamburger. We're going to call up one of the deacons. We're going to have them bring a grill, and we're going to fire it up. And we're going to get ourselves a really good charbroiled hamburger. And as we're walking out of the lake, we go, hey, what's this between my toes? And other places, oh, look, it's a salad bar. This is what I really want. I'll just eat this. It's like, anybody on the train for that? You rather pick that out? And no, we want a burger. And then last, one more. There was a dozen of these. I'm not going to share all of them, even though we probably would love to hear them all, but just one more. One more. They said that if you find yourself craving chocolate, you're like, oh no. What's the desire here? What's going on? What does the research say? Anybody like chocolate? Do we have any chocolate fans in the house? Okay, chocolate, yeah? Hey, what we got basically is like 80% of the people said, yeah, I like chocolate. They're looking around, not raising their hand too high. And we got other people who are just lying. And so, chocolate, man, is some good stuff. But they said if you're craving chocolate, what you're really wanting is amino acids. So have yourself a big old serving of quinoa. First off, ew. Quinoa tastes like feet, okay? That's what quinoa is. In case you don't know what quinoa is, it's a type of grain. It kind of has an attitude sometimes a little bit like corn, if you will. And you eat this stuff, and it tastes like feet, okay? It's horrible, horrible stuff. And then second of all, this is stupid. Because I'm telling you, I'll be honest with you. Totally honest with you. I have never in my life, if someone is able to prove me wrong, I would love to see your hand. I have never in my life heard a woman brag on Facebook or on any social media about how romantic her gift was during Valentine's Day when her loved one got her a box of assorted quinoa. I've never heard anyone do that. I go, quinoa? Oh, it's so romantic. No, that's called you looking for a new girlfriend, okay? Or a new boyfriend. You're like, quinoa? Yeah, I'm breaking up with you. It's over. Okay, and so nevertheless, that's just this weird thing. So they think, in this research, you'd be more satisfied by quinoa than a Three Musketeer bar, to which I say, nay, nay. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Which brings us back to the question then, what ultimately satisfies you? Is it what you are currently really, truly craving, or is it possible that we have a something else that could maybe satisfy us more than what we think we're craving after? Maybe another way of wording the question would be something like this. Rather than saying, what satisfies you, let's cross that out and let's do this. Where do you find satisfaction in life? Okay, where in life do you find satisfaction? Is it in your job? Is it in your paycheck that you get that you can pay your bills and still be able to afford your yacht? Okay, is it in your education, in your GPA? Is it how many friends you have on Facebook? Is it your skills of an artist or your voice? Is it your assortment of clothing and accessorizing ability and flair? Where do you find satisfaction? Where is it that you're able to say, I like doing X, Y, and Z because it satisfies me? I find satisfaction in it. Okay, so that's the question I want us to have in the back of our minds. Because what we're dealing with here is that, well, we're dealing with a weird situation of where Habakkuk is calling out to God because Habakkuk is not satisfied. Habakkuk is not satisfied. So here's our recap of where we've been so far through the book of Habakkuk. There's that Habakkuk again. We're going to have to just write that down somewhere. It's just now going to be renamed Habakkuk. Okay, but this book of Habakkuk, and here's this recap for you, that Habakkuk looks around, he sees the violence and the wickedness and the corruption and the perversions, and he says, God, I am fed up with this. I am so sick of what I am seeing, and it really bothers me. And if it bothers me because you're holy, it must really bother you. So if I'm fed up, God, why aren't you fed up? Which is interesting to note. Here's a little sentence for you. That it's interesting that Habakkuk gets fed up faster than God does, which seems to imply then that God is more patient than Habakkuk is. And isn't that kind of good to know? That God is more patient than we are, and he's more patient than Habakkuk is. Okay, so that's just a great thing to kind of be encouraged with, but nevertheless, that's Habakkuk's question. God, why aren't you doing something about this mess? So God says, I will. I'm going to. I'm going to bring out my own suicide squad, and I'm going to send them out. There's Deadshot, there's Harley Quinn. I got it all set up. I'm bringing an evil nation in to judge the people. So he says that God's going to bring in the Chaldeans, or also known as the Babylonians. I'm going to bring them in, and they're going to judge my people. And Habakkuk gets upset about this, saying, God, they're more wicked and corrupt than we are. That's like having our morals judged by Miley Cyrus. That doesn't even make sense. Why would we want that? God, what are you even doing? And so God ends up telling Habakkuk, and this is where we left off last week, was his reply to Habakkuk's secondary question was, I see the sins of the Babylonians and the Chaldeans, and I'm going to judge them too. No sin escapes my notice. Okay, so God says he's going to judge Israel by using the Babylonians, and then God is going to directly, personally judge the Babylonians. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't want to be a Babylonian. It's one thing to be judged by another nation as an instrument of God's wrath. It's another thing being judged by God personally. Okay, so the Babylonians are going to get God's personal hand of judgment upon them. And so he begins to tell the Babylonians 5 woes. And let me tell you something. If God says woe to you, that's not a compliment. Okay, just being honest, it's not a compliment. So God gives 5 woes to the Babylonians. And my question is going to be, when we look at how the Babylonians find satisfaction, that's how God's 5 woes are directed, at their 5 areas of satisfaction, where they are feeling satisfied, where they have put their identity wrapped up into in order to feel satisfied in life. When we look at what they have done, God says, woe upon you, because it's misplaced satisfaction, misplaced identity. We're going to have to ask ourselves, are we really that different than the Babylonians? Or have we as a nation and we as individuals have we really strayed that far from God that we're more like Babylonians than we would care to admit? So I want to kind of explore that a little bit today. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is going to be really brutal. This is going to be completely, intensely toe-crushing for many of us, myself included. So I'm just going to prepare you for that. And you're going to want to feel resistance. You might even have thoughts like, who does that young whippersnapper think he is? He's only been here for 3 weeks, and he's already telling me stuff like this. And you're going to have that type of resistance. A little lawyer is going to pop up in the back of your head. I object, you don't know me well enough. You've only talked to me twice. How do you know? And I'm just going to tell you what the Babylonians are charged with. And if it happens to hit home to you and you want to put up your little lawyer, let you know that that's not me convicting you, it's the Holy Spirit convicting you. And your fight's against him, not me, because I'm just reading the scripture. Because I don't know you, if it's convicting, it means that it's God really doing it and not me trying to pick a fight. Okay? So you ready for this? We're going to move in. Let's check this out. So the 5 woes. One of them we covered last week a little bit. So I'm not going to spend as much time on that one as the other 4. And so here are the 5 woes. And they're going to be put up with a great little pastorally alliterative statement here. The first one is a charge of significance. Charge of significance. That God looks upon the Babylonians and he charges them by really idolizing their significance, their own arrogance, their own pride. Here's how it reads, starting at verse, we're going to back up to verse 4 and go all the way to verse 8. So check this out. Behold, as for the proud one, his soul is talking about the Babylonians. Their souls is not right within him, but the righteous will live by his faith. Furthermore, wealth betrays the haughty man, so that he does not stay at home. Because he is as greedy as the grave, and like death is never satisfied, he gathers to himself all the nations and takes captive all the peoples. Verse 6, will not all of them taunt him with ridicule and scorn, saying, woe to him who piles up stolen goods and makes himself wealthy by extortion. How long must this go on? Won't your creditors suddenly arise, and those who disturb you wake up? Then you will become spoil for them, since you have plundered many nations. All the peoples who remain will plunder you because of human bloodshed and violence against lands, cities, and all who live in them. So here's what's going on. What God is basically telling the Babylonians is that they are so much about themselves, about significance, about wealth, about status, about what they own, what they have, that they are taking out loan after loan after loan after loan. And pretty soon, all of those creditors are going to come up and bite you in the rear, and they're going to demand it all back. Okay, so this would be like for an individual who takes out a house loan, then a car loan, then student loans, and medical loans, and a second mortgage, and then they take out another refinance loan, and they do more loans so they can have more things. In the end, they end up having enough debt that is beyond 3 times their annual income, and they find themselves in debt up to their eyeballs. And then pretty soon the debtors are going to say, or the creditors are going to say, we want our money back. Where is it? And then we're going to be like, I don't have that much. And then you end up finding yourselves filing bankruptcy and selling everything you got at a fraction you bought it for. Isn't that happening all across our country? Aren't we afraid that's what's going to happen to our country itself, considering that our national debt is how much? Into the trillions? Numbers I can't even count to in my lifetime. I mean, we're looking at a nation and a lifestyle where people are going into excessive debt repeatedly just to be able to have more, just to be able to feel great, to be able to say, look at what I've got. Look at my nice car. Isn't it shiny? Look at my nice house. Isn't it glorious? Look at my boat. It goes whatever knots across the water. Check out my fishing gear. Check out my this and my that. And in the end, they're just ready to be bankrupt. And soon destruction's going to come. See, when our desires are misplaced, eventually those desires will betray. That's what will happen. It'll lead to our own absolute ruin. And so that's what God's charge is, number one. He is telling the Babylonians, you have economically, because of your pride and arrogance, because of your desire for being significant, have set yourself up for a massive fall. And it's just a matter of time. That's his first charge. And of course, the question for us is, how's our finances? How do we worship with our wallet? If we were to look at your budget book, is it really balanced in a way that is glorifying God? Is it really set up in a way that is full of stewardship? Or is it set up for a massive destruction come sometime in the future? What's that looking like for you? And so then God gives us second woe. And the second one, this is where it gets kind of fun, is the charge of security. Charge of security. This is from verses 9 to 11. And they find their security in money and power. Check this out. So verse 9, because, money, it seems to be a real major problem here for the Babylonians. Woe to him who dishonestly makes wealth for his house, to place his nest on high, to escape from the reach of disaster. Verse 10 and 11, you have planned shame for your house by wiping out many peoples and sinning against your own self. For the stones will cry out from the wall, and the rafters will answer them from the woodwork. And so what they're thinking is that their wealth, their money, their power is their basis for security. We feel safe, we feel secure because we have money and we have power. After all, just earlier in chapter 1, God had already said that their strength is their God. When he told Habakkuk, I'm going to send the Babylonians in as my suicide squad to judge the people of Israel, he said their strength is their God. They find their whole power of security, their whole element of security in their power and their ability to be able to launch out the military, with their ability to launch out authority, with their ability to be able to attack and to conquer. Of course, America's not that way. We've learned our lesson. You see, this is a real big issue. Did you know that to make it more personal here, let's talk about marriages. Did you know that all of marriage conflicts can be summed up in 3 areas? Money, love, and power. Money, love, and power. How the money is being spent, how love is being expressed, and who makes the decisions. That's all the conflicts within every marriage. Anyone that comes to me for marital counseling, I'm going to be looking for those 3 things, or a combination thereof, because everything falls into those 3 categories. So if you think about it, money, love, and power, those are the things that people fight about. Those are the things nations war about. Those are the things that children fight about. Those are the things that people are in constant conflict about. In fact, let me tell you this, money and power are really 2 big things that everybody craves. Absolutely everybody craves, especially men, but everybody craves. I'll do a poll. You ready for this? This will be great. Who here would rather have money or no money? Who would rather have money? Okay, who here would rather have power or no power? Who would rather have power? Okay, see, we're people being honest. Yeah, I'd rather have power than no power. I'd rather have, if I were to pull out a $20 bill, if I were to say, do you want it or not want it? I'll give it to you if you want it. No strings attached. You'd be like, yeah, me, you know. And so that's our drive. That's our desire for money and power. That's why it comes up in marriages. That's why it comes up in relationships. That's why it comes up in co-workers' problems. Why it comes up between boss and employee. You know, boss doesn't know what he's doing. We know the better way of doing it. It's all about money and power. How decisions are being made. That's where that drive is at. We want more money. We want more power. And we think that if we have it, we are safe and secure. And I don't even get I have no idea where this even started from. Yeah, it's even taught in our cartoons to children's even from decades ago. Anybody ever watch DuckTales? Woo, da-da-da-da. Okay, and what is it? Scrooge McDuck. Is he powerful or not powerful? Powerful. Is he wealthy or not wealthy? Wealthy. Okay, and he gets to swim. He gets to swim in his money. How awesome is that? Okay, and so he dives in it, and then his nephews are there, and they're playing with it and stuff. You know, this is what's taught to our kids by our media all the time. You want to think about this: the superheroes that are so big in Marvel worlds and what are they really in poverty, or a lot of them tend to have a lot of money available to them and great resources? Okay, so it's interesting, isn't it, that this is this constant theme. If you want to be special in this world, you need money and power. Of course, if you want to run for president of the United States, they say anybody can run, as long as you're over the age of 35 and a natural-born citizen. In fact, one of our presidents, way long time ago, was a walnut farmer. I guess he was anti-pizza. But he was a walnut farmer. And we had peanut farmers, and we've had other people of different professions that have become president of the United States. You know what it takes to do it now? You got to have millions of dollars to spend. Because if you declare yourself a Republican or a Democrat, you got to pay your Republican and Democratic dues, which start as like $250,000. You think your union dues are tough. Okay, and so this is where people have to raise up that kind of money. So if you want to be able to have power, and you want to be judge, you want to be president, you got to have money. And if you have money, then you can use it to get your power. It's no wonder these two elements come up so far in life, and why it can be so much of a temptation to become an idol in an individual's life, where they could raise that up as being more important to them than their godliness, more important to them than even Jesus on the cross, because to them they want to have that money and power, that significance, that security. So that's charge number 2. And it continues. Oh, by the way, let me just point this out. Does the Bible say that money's bad? No. Money's not bad. Does the Bible say to avoid money at all costs? Absolutely not. What the Bible does say, you can't serve two masters. What the Bible does say, you're supposed to love people and use money, not love money and use people. Okay, there's the problem. And then what are the Babylonians doing? They are loving money and using people. Of course, churches don't do that today. Sure, we'll give you everything you want. Just give us your credit card. You know, so it's a big temptation all over the place. But money is not necessarily the problem, but it is a problem. It is a problem. So that's charge number 2. Charge number 3 to the Babylonians. And we look at verses 12 through 14. Is the charge of selfishness. The charge of selfishness, where the Babylonians think only about and care only about themselves. Check this out, starting at verse 12. Woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and founds a town with injustice. Is it not from the Lord of hosts that the peoples labor only to fuel the fire and countries exhaust themselves for nothing? For the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord's glory as the waters cover the sea. So what they're doing is they are trying to sacrifice others so that self may flourish. That's what they're doing. And what God wants is for us to sacrifice ourselves to help others flourish. Martin Luther called it the theology of the cross, where Jesus died on the cross for that everybody can flourish. It was sacrificing self so that others might flourish. But this group, these Babylonians, are doing the opposite. They are sacrificing others to make themselves flourish. But of course, we don't struggle with selfishness in our personal lives, do we? I mean, our nation, let's just start big. Let's start big. Our nation doesn't, like, step on people in order to achieve success, do they? Companies don't try to, like, step on the little guy so that the upper edge people can get bonuses. They don't do that, do they? Oh, no, we don't do that anymore. Please hear my sarcasm in that. Okay, and our nation doesn't do that, does it? But what about personally? Personally, let's take it down to a very personal level. You might be like, well, I don't own a company. I'm just one of those guys that's getting stepped on. Let's make it even more practical than that. Let's take it to a different level, okay? Of course, have you ever complained about being stuck in traffic or waiting in a long line at a restaurant? Have you ever been there? Right? Where you're like getting on 465 and all of a sudden it's all backed up, especially if you were driving it yesterday down to one lane. What's up with that? I wasn't in that. Yeah, I was. Okay, and I'm looking at it going, why? We would move a lot better if that one person wouldn't wait to the last second to get in and cut everybody off and we could just go. But no, they got to wait for the... Ever complained about, ever been in a line at a restaurant and go, what is taking them so dadgum long? Why is it that they're not... recently, I was frustrated with Best Buy. I'm calling them on the phone and I'm trying to talk to someone. They're like, there are 3 customers ahead of you. And I waited on hold for 40 minutes. I got frustrated. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I hang up. I call back. There are 3 customers ahead of you. I'm like, still the same 3? I hang up. I drive to Best Buy. Pull in the parking lot. I call. 3 customers ahead of you. I hang up. I walk inside. No one's on the phone. Employees written around talking with each other, just goofing off. I'm just like, who's answering the phone? Have you been there? Now, here's the thing. We can complain about all of that, but are we complaining that, oh, look at that restaurant. Those waitresses have got to be overworked and underpaid. Are they even being tipped well? Because that's half their income. Oh, let's look at that construction work. If they didn't do the construction work, we'd all be complaining about potholes in the road. And what about those workers that are working on a weekend? Long hours, not seeing their family while their kids are home rather than in school. And then maybe they get a Monday or Tuesday off, but their kids are in school, so they don't get to see their kid, and so they don't even remember what their kid looks like. Are we complaining about that? But you see, we're complaining about what affects us. We're not complaining about what affects other people. And so we complain that the drive-thru is too long. Not that somebody called in sick, and now they're overworked, trying to figure out how to make demands of all the different other customers who are also complaining. See, on and on, maybe we do have a little bit of a problem with selfishness than we want to admit. I will admit I do. Isn't that a great thing to admit? 4th week into the pastorate here at this church? Isn't that great? Your pastor's selfish. Congratulations. I complain. Ask my wife. I'll be honest with you. She's like, yeah, he complained about Best Buy, all right. That was frustrating for him. Yeah, I did. I was grumpy. And she's like, when you go there, you got to be nice to people. I'll be nice to people. I'm really nice to people. I really am. But in the car, I'm going to be a little snotty. But that's it. We all have that struggle. We all have that temptation towards selfishness, to where we don't think about how other people are being impacted, how they're being hurt, or even being mistreated at the job. We just care how it affects us. But the charge continues on. God doesn't just stop there. He doesn't stop at selfishness. We still got 2 more charges to go. Already feeling convicted yet? Anybody willing to admit? I'm feeling a little bit convicted right now. I got some areas of maturity and growth. But we got a couple honest people. The rest of you are lying. Okay, we got a couple more yet to go. Here's the next one. This is woe number 4, where God charges the Babylonians with the issue of shamefulness. With the issue of shamefulness. You single ladies, I want you to listen up to this big time. You men who are single, I want you to listen up to this big time. Okay, the charge of shamefulness, verses 15 through 17, reads as follows. Woe to him who gives his neighbors drink, pouring out your wrath and even making them drunk in order to look at their nakedness. You will be filled with disgrace instead of glory. You also drink and expose your uncircumcision. The cup in the Lord's right hand will come around to you, and utter disgrace will cover your glory. For your violence against Lebanon will overwhelm you. The destruction of animals will terrify you because of your human bloodshed and violence against lands, cities, and all who live in them. This is God's charge of them having shamefulness or shameful behavior. Let me just offer something here. This might be a little touchy. We'll see how this goes. First off, is it a sin to have a drink? Even an alcoholic beverage, is it a sin to have a drink? And nowhere in Scripture does it call that directly a sin. It calls drunkenness a sin, but not a drink in and of itself. But what the Babylonians are doing is something a little bit different. They are trying to get their neighbors and prospective clients and other people drunk to be able to expose their nakedness and mock them for it. This is kind of like, if you will, trying to come up with a modern American example of this. So this would be when a woman goes into a bar. And if she goes into a bar and she is looking her finest, she's all dolled up and everything's good to go. She's got her makeup good and got a shirt cut down to here and a slit up to there and whatever else is going on, okay? And so she gets to the bar. It won't take but maybe 30 seconds before she sees a picture a little bit like this. Right? It won't take but a minute for someone to say, "Excuse me, miss, can I buy you a drink?" Or it won't take but a minute for her to sit down that a glass is put on her table saying, "This is from the gentleman right over there." It won't take but a minute. And I'll tell you what, this is a very interesting scenario because I myself have been in many bars. Not that I frequent bars. I personally don't. I don't drink alcohol at all. I just my own personal choice on that. But I've done film shoots. And I've gone to film festivals, and I get very much involved in that type of world. And a lot of times, bars have different setups for festivals and film shoots to be able to be at. So I've been to several bars for that. And I've gone in, I've played pool a few times, and I've thrown darts a few times. I don't want to get those two confused because it scares people. But let me be honest with you. Of all the times I've been in the bar, never once has anyone offered to buy me a drink. I don't know what it is. I've tried to make myself look the best I can look. I have gone in all dolled up, okay? I get a shirt buttoned up to here, my tie on all nice, get myself a good old pair of slacks. I walk in, I'm acting all confident and ready, and no one buys me a drink. A little chickie D comes walking in, boom, drink. I don't know what it is. But let me just tell you something, ladies. If you walk into a bar and you're a single woman, you walk into a bar and a guy offers to buy you a drink, and married woman, this counts for you too, if you walk in without your husband and another guy offers to buy you a drink, that's actually code. You know what that code is? I would like to break commandments with you. That's what that is. Because people think that drink equals nudity. That's what people are expecting. That's what they're wanting. A guy offers a girl to drink. Why? Just because she's pretty and he never wants her phone number? Or do you think he's hoping for a little bit of action later in the night? Okay, that's what's going on. Okay, and what women don't realize is as nice as Leonardo DiCaprio looks right there, the same little yahoo can also end up being deep down inside a little bit different. Okay, that's the same guy, by the way. He can be a little bit different, and you don't know because they might say, "I want to be your friend," but really they might just want to be your felon because they're after one thing. And if a girl ever did offer to buy me a drink, it's not because she thinks my tie looks spiffy. Okay, and so I've actually been propositioned before. I had this one necklace. This was a weird little thing. I was in my bachelor's study program at Grand Valley State University. I had this necklace I would like to wear. This is back when necklaces were cool for guys to wear. Okay, thank you, Backstreet Boys. And so I had this really cool little necklace thing. And on the end of the necklace had a peanut shell. And on the inside of the peanut, it said the words John 3:16, which was the gospel in a nutshell. See? It was an awesome necklace. And so I would wear it, and people go, why are you wearing a peanut? And I would turn and I would say John 3:16, gospel in a nutshell. And they would ask, why is that the gospel in a nutshell? I got asked that a dozen times. It worked really well until one day. This girl looks at me and she says, I like your peanut. And I said, yeah, John 3:16, the gospel in a nutshell. And she went, oh, great, there it goes. You Christians took another one of our symbols. And I was curious. I said, you Christians, one of your symbols, what are you talking about? It's a peanut. She said, yeah, I'm part of the Grand Valley State University Campus Wiccans. And for us, the peanut is a sign of virility. And now you took our symbol from us. And when someone wears a peanut and a girl says, I like your peanut, that is a chance to say, I want to test your virility. It was a proposition. I wanted to share with her the gospel, not anything else. The gospel was the only seed I wanted to plant. That is it. Okay, and so, but that's the issue though. When people approach you, many times their goal is for your shame. Their goal is your shame. And that's what the Babylonians had. I want to buy you a drink so that I can see your nakedness and gloat over it. And they also, you might remember, the Babylonians were also charged with mistreating animals. Isn't that interesting? That because of your mistreat of animals, even the bloodshed of humans will come back and haunt you. That the Babylonians, their shame was not just looking upon other people's nakedness, not just what might be, we could call today, a addiction to pornography, not just trying to look upon other people's shame and gloat over it and say, look what I just saw, yee-haw. Not any of that type of sin and perversion, but also included the mistreatment of animals and even God's creation itself. So how are you with treating God's creation? How are you at respect and treating animals and treating nature and treating... I know you might be thinking, oh great, here goes the pastor becoming a tree hugger. Well, God made it. If I walked into your house and I mistreated your TV, would you be mad at me? I mean, think about it. It's just a television, but if I mistreated it, if I treated it like a dartboard, would you be mad at me? Yes! Thank you for your honesty. Yes, you'd be mad at me. You'd never invite me back. And if you did, you'd hide your TV. Okay, and it's not that I'm hurting the person whose TV that belongs to, am I? Well, yes, in a way I am. I'm offending them by how I am mistreating their possessions. And how we treat this planet offends God because he made it and it's his possession. Shamefulness. Shamefulness. And then God concludes his 5 woes with the end of chapter 2 with one last final charge of woe. Woe number 5. The charge of strange worship. It could be called the charge of idolatry, but it didn't begin with S. In case you haven't noticed, everything's began with, my thesaurus and I are good friends. We have a lot of fun together. The charge of strange worship. Check this out. These are the rest of the verses of chapter 2. What is a carved idol after its craftsman carves it? It is only a cast image, a teacher of lies. For the one who crafts its shape trusts in it and makes idols that cannot speak. Woe to him who says to wood, wake up! Or to the mute stone, come alive! Can it teach? Look, it may be plated with gold and silver, yet there is no breath in it at all. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let everyone on earth be silent in his presence. This last one, charge of strange worship or idolatry. Dr. Michael Whitmer was a mentor of mine back in my earlier seminary days, and he made this great statement I will never forget. He said an idol is not just a statue or a carved image, and which we know that to be true because in Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 11, God said that for the Babylonians, their strength is their God. Their strength is not a carved image. So therefore, idolatry is more than just statues and objects. Okay, it includes that, but is not limited just to that. And so Dr. Whitmer shared this with me. He said, an idol is whatever you find for you, your ultimate significance and ultimate security. If you find your ultimate significance in something, this is where you drive your identity, your worth, and what makes you valuable. And if you drive your ultimate security, that which provides you comfort, that which provides you trust, that which provides you peace, okay, whatever that is, that answers those two things for you, that's what you worship. That's your God. Whatever gives you that ultimate significance and that ultimate security. And if that is anything other than the triune God of the Bible, it is idolatry. And it is real easy for people to find this in their televisions. As an example, where they say, I've had a really long day. I am stressed out of my mind. How do I want to relax? How do I want to find my significance and my security and my relaxation and my comfort? By sitting down in front of my TV, not prayer, not Bible study, not with other Christians in prayer, but in front of my TV. And I want to find my comfort and my security there. So much so I'm even willing to set up a monthly tithe to it called cable. And I want to make a shrine to it, to where I get this beautiful stand and it all looks glorious. And I want to surround it with different objects of value and worship called speakers and 5.1 surround. And televisions aren't bad. I love television. I watch television every day. I really do. I love this time of year because all my new shows are on. NCIS is there. Bull was on. I was very impressed with Bull. Speechless was funnier than I was expecting. The Blacklist is back on. I'm so geeked. Last Man Standing's there. I love this time of year. But we have to be careful because though TV's not bad, at what point does TV demand more of our lives than God? So we got to have a balanced play there. We could be guilty of strange worship. It's interesting how people tend to find their significance. If they don't find it or comfort in their television, maybe they find it in their ability. Did you know that people actually make idols today about people who sing well all the time? Did you know that? I'm not just talking about fangirls and fanboys being all excited about the new band. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like a show that was even called American Idol. To where something that was considered to be deplorable by God in the scriptures has become a top-rated television show. And just because it was canceled last season and we aren't going to get it this year, doesn't mean we still don't have America's Got Talent, doesn't mean we don't have The Voice, doesn't mean we don't have a dozen other programs out there that have the same attitude to it. That we have this problem of saying that this is what makes me great. This is what makes this person awesome. This is what makes this person significant. And as long as they have their voice, they are secure and they matter and they have value. When God is saying, you know what? All of that doesn't matter in the end. How well you sing isn't going to make a hill of beans different when you stand before the judgment seat of God himself. That's why I love how twice in the book of Habakkuk we have this phrase that was given to us, these beautiful words. It says, verse 14 and verse 20, check this out. God gives us beautiful things about where he is in relationship to everything we think gives us significance and security. He says, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of whose glory? The Lord's glory, not our glory, not Tim McGraw's glory, not Carrie Underwood's glory, not the Cure's glory, not anybody else's, but the Lord's glory. And how will that knowledge be filling of the earth of the Lord's glory? Just like the waters covers the sea. How do waters cover a sea? How much of the sea is made up of water? All of it. That's an easy question. If you find a puddle, how much of that puddle is water? All of it. Okay, so what God is saying is eventually the whole earth will be filled from top to bottom fully of his glory. Verse 20, but the Lord is in his holy temple. Let everyone on earth be silent in his presence. In other words, your voice has nothing to compare to God's glory. Your kingdom is nothing to God's kingdom. So that brings us to our closing question then. Where do you find your significance? Do you find your significance, your satisfaction in God's kingdom or your kingdom? And if you want to know if you're more about God's kingdom than your kingdom, one of the ways is checking your wallet or purse to ask, where does your money go? How is your lifestyle organized? Whose kingdom are you really about? Are you about God's kingdom or your kingdom? Are you hashtagging stuff that glorifies God or hashtagging stuff to make you look clever? What's your goal? What's your end game? Where do you find your satisfaction? Let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, there is none that is worthy. None here that is of any significance, Lord. Our